Hello, Courserians. Welcome to the first class session of this course from the Medill School of Journalism, Media, Integrated Marketing Communications, Understanding Media by Understanding Google. I'm Owen Youngman, the Knight Professor of Digital Media Strategy at Medill. No, actually, I'm Owen Youngman. That was one of my teaching assistants. For the next 6 weeks, you and I and a few thousand of our closest friends are going to do several things that most of us rarely do. Uncover our unconscious assumptions about how we gather and use news and information. Pay closer attention to what we do online. Notice how our assumptions and behavior have changed and continue to change. Think about the companies and technologies that enable those changes. And study one of the companies deeply and analyze its impact on one of the world's most important and pervasive industries, the media. As you well know from the title of this class, that company is Google Incorporated. Founded in 1998 by a couple of college students, it's now one of the world's most influential enterprises. Its way of doing business has been so transformative that an influential book, What Would Google Do?, by blogger and journalism professor Jeff Jarvis, a former colleague of mine at the Chicago Tribune and a Medill graduate himself, argues that, quote, faced with most any challenge today, it makes sense to ask WWGD, what would Google do? In management, commerce, news, media, manufacturing, marketing, service industries, investing, politics, government, even education and religion, answering that question is a key to navigating a world that has changed radically and forever. Wow, a key to navigating a world that has changed radically and forever. That's a remarkable assertion. But there is a lot of truth to it, and that's one reason I've been teaching a course at Northwestern for the last several academic years called American Media Through the Lens of Google. This Coursera course has been updated and adapted from that class, which is open not only to journalism students, but also to undergraduates across the university. The centerpieces of my Northwestern course are half a dozen tremendous books that have been written in the last few years about Google and its impact. Jeff Jarvis's is just one of them. Some are histories. Some are analyses of its business practices. Some are mostly excited about what Google has wrought, and some are mostly worried. This range of opinions is another reason why a course on Google and the media is attractive. It gives us a chance to consider a wide variety of arguments and opinions, as well as multiple interpretations of facts about which there is no dispute. Because these books are so interesting and important, I strongly urge you to purchase them and read the excerpts I'll be highlighting each week. If you choose not to, the syllabus also provides alternate resources from which you can get similar information. But if you do want to have the deepest possible understanding of our important topic, please consider going back to the course homepage, which is linked below, and clicking on the links there to buy books or ebooks. But let's return to our key question for this session. Why study Google and the media? Why is it important to understand Google in order to understand 21st century media? One reason is that 21st century media companies work every day to understand Google themselves, in order not just to succeed, but to survive. That's one reason Ken Auletta of The New Yorker subtitled his 2009 book on the company, The End of the World as We Know It. The world as media had known it, already undergoing rapid transformation through the explosive growth of the World Wide Web, changed even further and even faster once Google came on the scene. In our second set of lectures for this week, we'll start to look at just how Google's search algorithm accelerated what was already underway. But wait, there's more. In Western democracies, one of the roles of the media generally and of journalists specifically has been to give people access to information that helps them improve their lives and our society, whether it's news that informs decisions about how we govern ourselves, information about what products we buy, or knowledge we can share with our neighbors. Not only does Google facilitate this, but it can be argued that it does so better than any media company ever could. And it may have a better chance than any company before or since to do so at scale. So media companies are asking, is there anything left for us? A fair question, because Google doesn't think about our quest for information in quite the same way that a journalist or media company is used to. Before they know they need it. What does that look like? If you use Google search at all, you know that it partly looks like this. Typing a G means I want Google. Typing an S can offer me Sprint's stock price. And if I want to find myself, 3 little letters and there I am. Unless I was actually looking for the unfortunate Owen Hart, I guess. Not that there's anything wrong with that, is there? Actually, we'll get back to that question later. For now, let's talk about something our authors all agree upon. Google's reach, Google's prowess, and Google's impact over its 15-year history have been nothing short of amazing. Professor Siva Vaidyanathan, who chairs the Department of Media Studies at the University of Virginia, subtitled his 2011 book, The Googleization of Everything, with the parenthetical, and Why We Should Worry. That's another of the key books around which this course has been constructed. But while worrying is a different thing than using or understanding, as this brief quote implies, they can have as much in common as a left click and a right click of your mouse. As we will see in week 2 of this course, Professor Vaidyanathan has thought particularly deeply about Google's intersection with knowledge and one of knowledge's principal manifestations, books. Overall, his study led him to coin a word, Googleization, that builds on the earlier coinage of the company's name itself. As many of you undoubtedly already know, Google is an adaptation of a number that can be represented as 10 to the 100th power, Google. Given the scale to which Google has grown, even bigger numbers are relevant in talking about it, like Googleplex, which is the number 10 raised to the Googleth power. And, as it happens, the Googleplex, spelled like the company, not like the number, is now the name of Google's sprawling campus in Mountain View, California. But I digress. We're interested in what's happening to the media world outside the Googleplex as much as what Googlers are cooking up inside it. In one of this week's video lectures, you'll hear directly from Jarvis, whose book makes a broad case for the positive impact of Googleization without using the word. Google, he argues, has helped to create new rules of a new age that, if followed, are helping other enterprises, including other media enterprises, to succeed in a world that Google has largely created. As you watch this list appear on your screen, ask yourself which of them most directly apply to media companies. Then ask yourself whether, if these rules are mandatory, which ones might cause a media company to fail if not adhered to. Make a couple of notes, either mental notes or on a piece of paper, and then click below when you're ready to proceed. Actually, you can easily argue that all of them apply. Jeff certainly would. But for the purposes of this lecture, I have highlighted 4 in particular. The primacy of niche markets, thanks to a combination of the web's reach and Google's ability to locate vanishingly small topics within it. The notion of abundance, which has upended a media model where freedom of the press is guaranteed only to those who own one, as A.J. Liebling once wrote. Today, nearly anyone can own a Blogger or WordPress site or a Tumblr. The importance of collaboration, which means that successful media enterprises rely as much on their audiences to create and share content as they do upon their own staffs. And the fact that openness has watered down, if not fully eliminated, the advantages that come with ownership. In general, media companies profited by, quote, selling the people and ideas and products they owned. Today, not so much. And that takes us to one of Siva Vaidyanathan's most powerful points. one that's the best place to end this first lecture. After all, in addition to being a technology company and a media company, Google is also an advertising company, perhaps the most successful advertising company in history, a facet of the company we will study next week. What is Google selling? He argues that Google is selling us, and he notices that we don't much mind. We see so clearly how it makes our lives better, he writes, our projects easier, our world smaller, that we fail to consider the costs, risks, options, and long-term consequences. I began teaching this course at Northwestern because, based on reading and observation, I would argue just as strongly that journalists in particular need not only to consider the options, but to understand that options actually exist. But the course has been offered outside the journalism school as well because we all need to understand the way that media have changed and are changing. And that, as a result, we all need to understand Google. Come along for the rest of these 6 weeks and decide whether you agree with our authors, with your fellow students, or with me.